All right, let's keep it moving. Moving on. This next guy, Thomas Tweed. We're gonna come back to Thomas Tweed. Thomas Tweed's dope and has a lot to say, and we're gonna come back to his theory when we talk about what is religion. So I don't want to go into too much detail right now. So Tweed explains that studying religious traditions helps us to understand what these traditions actually do for human persons. And he goes into great detail about, what he thinks religious traditions do for human persons, which again we'll come back to in the next lecture when we begin to say what is religion. But his answer simply is that religious traditions enable people to cross through difficult times, to cross through major periods in their life, to physically cross through pilgrimages and other kinds of things. But just as importantly, to go through those difficult times in one's life. And also dwelling in terms of like making us feel at home. Right now as I'm recording this in 2020, quite the year, so many people have lost their homes to wildfires and also to hurricanes and lots of other things. But this has been quite the record year for wildfires. So many people have lost their houses as a result of wildfires. Now you can rebuild a house, but rebuilding a home, making a dwelling, making a home is different than making a house. And Tweed's point is that sure, you need a carpenter, you need a builder, you need a mason in order to build a house, but religion and religious communities and religious traditions and practices, they are what go a long way into helping us make homes, into turning our houses and our communities into homes. So, like I said, we will come back to Tweed when we get more into what is religion and what does religion do. All right, for now, let's move on and let's shift over to the OG cat himself, Wilfred Cantwell Smith. Wilfred Cantwell Smith. Now, this dude is the OG for sure. If positionality on the circle means anything, then he has to be everywhere because he's had a big influence on all of these people. He's had a big influence on all of us when we're thinking about what religion is, what religion does, how we use the word religion, how we shouldn't use the word religion, how dangerous the word religion can be, how misleading it can be, everything. It all comes back down to Smith. So Smith wrote many books on the study of religion and religious theory and theory of religion, methods of religion, study, that kind of stuff. But this one definitely takes the boat, the meaning and end of religion. And what he means is the meaning of the word religion, and also he's calling for the end of the use of the word religion, in part because he says that we use the word religion in inconsistent ways. You know what? We will definitely come back to that point and to this book and when we start talking about what religion is. But for now, when we're talking about this question, why study religion or theology, Smith's answer is very similar to a lot of these others because he's influenced all of them. He's the OG, right? He's the one who said it before. But he said that religions activate people. Religions cause people to take actions, right? To activate is to make somebody take an action. So if a religious conviction, a religious belief, a religious doctrine, a religious scripture, a religious community, a religious teacher, all of these things activate people, right? They encourage people or prompt people to take certain actions. He's using the word symbol in a wildly capacious way here, a very, very broad meaning of the word symbol. I mean, he's giving a very technical meaning, but for our purposes, religious symbols activate people. One of Smith's very important contributions, one of his many very important contributions, is that he emphasizes that the study of religion is the study of human persons. The study of religion is the study of human persons. Does that sound profound? I don't think it sounds that profound. It doesn't sound that profound. On your first hearing, it doesn't sound that profound. The study of religion is the study of human persons. And it's not that profound until you think about the other ways that somebody might have finished this sentence, right? The study of religion is... Smith is saying it's the study of human persons. That's what it's about. The study of religion is about persons. We've got to put persons at the center. Not imaginary things that don't exist, ideas and things like that, which we've crafted in order to have a discourse, which is fine. Those sort of meta-narratives have their place. We'll come back to all that philosophical mumbo jumbo in a bit. Not today. Layers of complexity. We're just getting started, trying to keep shit simple. He says the task of students of religion is to consider the role that those religions play in a person's life, right? How do religious painting, how does religious music, how do religious communities, how do religious scriptures, how do religious, all these things, how do religious phenomena, what role do those play in the lives of human persons, right? But the persons are always at the center. What we're studying are the persons, because persons are real and persons exist, and we can ask persons what they think and why they're doing the things that they're doing. But we can't put like Buddhism at the center, right? He explains our concern, our meaning the people who study religion, our as scholars of religion, welcome, you're now a scholar of religion, at least for the course of this, as long as you're watching these videos and participating in this course, this religious quest. So our concern is not primarily the doctrines and scriptures and prayers and rituals and institutions of religion, right? Religious scriptures, religious prayers, religious institutions, religious rituals, etc. Those aren't our primary concern. Our primary concern is what do those things, scriptures, prayers, rites, institutions, what do those things do to human persons, right? What do they do to a woman? What do they do to a child? What do they do to a man? What do they do to communities? How do they activate people? How do they inspire or whatever? How do they lead? How do they motivate people towards certain actions? Which actions and how, etc. Another wonderful quote, what matters is not the dance so much as what happens to the African who is dancing, right? It's not so much what are the steps? How do I learn the step? What are they doing, right? But instead, how do these actions, how do these dances, how do they affect the dancer, right? How do they influence the dancer and of course also the people watching the dancers? Not the Quran so much as what the Quran means to a Muslim man or a Muslim woman or a Muslim child, right? What does it mean to human persons? How does it activate human persons? It's the human persons that are at the center of our study, because insofar as this is part of the humanities and an important part of the humanities. All right, this is absolutely one of my favorite quotations, so we're going to linger here for a minute. Smith writes, in order to understand Buddhists, which are persons, in order to understand Buddhist persons, one must look not at some imaginary thing, some made-up category called Buddhism, right? But instead, what we're trying to do is to see the world, to see the universe through the eyes of a Buddhist, right? So we're trying to study human persons in order to imagine what it's like to be that person, to see the world from their vantage. As I'll talk about in a later segment, this has an evolutionary benefit. There are so many reasons that it is good to understand a variety of perspectives on ultimacy in life. So we aren't studying Buddhism or Hinduism or Christianity or Islam or whatever, but we are studying Buddhists and Christians and Jews and Muslims and Hindus, right? So we are studying human persons, and we are studying human persons not to sort of fetishize them or think, oh, well, that's weird, but instead to try and see the world, to see the universe through their eyes, right? To imagine what it is like to be in there. It's such a beautiful quote. Let me read it again. In order to understand Buddhists, one must look not at something called Buddhism, but at the universe, so far as possible, through Buddhist eyes. Enough said? All right, let's wrap this up because I need a refill and you need a break. So, last on our list, but maybe not necessarily least, is this guy named Guru Brad. Okay, so it's not so much that my perspective is that much different than anybody else's, it's just I want to list a few more things that we haven't covered. A few more reasons that I see, a few more answers to the question, why study religion or theology, that we haven't covered so far through these other esteemed experts with whom I am in full agreement. One is just, again, coming from my own background in business and investment banking and finance in New York City, I just feel like there are a lot of business reasons. It's good for business people to have an understanding of religious diversity and human diversity, cultural diversity. So the better you are the better you understand how to relate to people who are quite different than you, then the better you will get along with your coworkers who may fit into different categories or boxes than you do. And also the better you'll be able to market to those who may have differing beliefs. So if you, again, it's because religious symbols activate people, whether it's a cross around their neck or a burning cross, right, in their lawn. Religious symbols activate people and lead people into action. So if you understand how people think, and if you understand what motivates their actions, then one of those actions obviously is purchasing. Certainly it's helpful to understand religious diversity from a marketing perspective, just to be able to sell to other people, right? I can see why the other people haven't mentioned this, but Hinnells probably did somewhere. Another reason is just simply citizenship. You know, I mean, I think this is very similar to what Clooney and Thatamanil have said about being good neighbors, but even beyond those sort of scriptural, you know, Christian Jewish motivations or commandments to love one's neighbor and to treat one's neighbor as oneself, just to be a good citizen, a citizen within the United States, where we have a very diverse population and an increasingly cosmopolitan or globally diverse community here in the United States. It's good to be able to understand, you know, our fellow citizens and how it's helpful to understand the religious beliefs of Americans. It's part of being just a citizen of the United States. Also, just to toss in one more expert in here, Jacques Derrida, who said that, you know, if we want to be cosmopolitan, meaning citizens or, you know, citizens of the cosmos, of the earth, of the world, if we want to be citizens of the world and not just citizens of our, you know, pocket of the world, then it's helpful to understand the religious beliefs and convictions, practices, scriptures, teachings, traditions, deeply held beliefs and ethics of, you know, people who live in this world, whose views may be different from our own. Two more and then we'll stop. One is that you will see in this next video. So next after this, I want to watch this TED Talk of a business leader, a woman who's a business leader who's giving a TED Talk about her business experiences and the counseling that she gives. She's like a business consultant on the importance of diversity within a team, right? Within any team. And so part of that is we'll see as this course develops and as we get more into the weeds and into some of the other material that I'm very eager to get to, that we'll see ideas evolve through diversity. In the same way that interbreeding is bad, if you have babies with your sister or your brother, if siblings have children together, the children sometimes have birth defects or different things because there's a lack of genetic diversity. Genetic diversity is good. Likewise, ideological diversity brings a freshness to the waters, so to speak, right? Still waters get stagnant, but those fresh ideas coming in, which may not necessarily be new ideas, they may be ancient ideas, but ideas that are new to us nonetheless. So this evolution of ideas that flourishes in and through that harmonious diversification of perspectives. Last but not least, I'll add in, maybe because of my music background and my love for art, there's just sort of an aesthetic beauty. In the same way that I love to travel the world and to see coral reefs in all different parts of the world and the beautiful ecological diversity in different ecosystems, whether you're talking about the Great Rocky Mountains or the Smoky Mountains or the sands of the Florida Keys or Angkor Wat or Taj Mahal or the pyramids at Giza. There's a certain aesthetic beauty to just this diversity of human expressions through religiosity. And so I think in the same way that it's nice to have more than one color in the rainbow, it's also nice to have varieties of religious experience, varieties of religious expression. And there's a certain aesthetic beauty that I think we can learn from and value, even if we don't share any particular religious conviction or religious belonging of our own. So that's it for now. I want you to please go and watch the TED Talk, which I'll link to below, and then I'll have one more little segment to kind of wrap things up and bring things together with, you know, a little, another couple layers of complexity, as is fitting. Namaste.